Discover the miraculous beginning of Noah's Ark. God's divine plan unfolds in the midst of faith. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, during a time when the hearts of men were focused solely on wickedness, the world was steeped in immorality and injustice. The cries of the oppressed filled the air, a cacophony that reached even the heavens. Yet in the midst of this darkness stood a single light, Noah, a humble farmer, known for his righteousness. He walked faithfully with God, raising his family in his ways, a beacon of hope in a perverse generation. One sun-drenched afternoon, as Noah labored under the weight of the day, the voice of the Almighty broke through the pervasive murmur of sin that engulfed the earth. "Build yourself an ark of gopher wood," God commanded, revealing to Noah the devastating flood that would cleanse the soil of its corruption. As God's words echoed in his spirit, Noah trembled. The enormity of this divine command weighed heavy upon him, as he grasped the enormity of constructing a vessel to house every living creature. A chilling fear mingled with a flicker of hope within him. How could a simple farmer embark on such a monumental task? As days turned to weeks, Noah poured his being into the ark, each timber a testament to his unwavering faith. The laughter of his neighbors rang in his ears, wrapped in scorn. "Why do you toil, old man?" they jeered. Yet, despite the disdain, he pressed on. Then, as if orchestrated by a hidden hand, pairs of animals began arriving, creatures of every kind drawn to the ark. "Come, let us ensure their safety," Noah urged his sons, whose wide eyes reflected confusion and wonder. The ambient sounds of nature that he cherished now felt ominous. The sky, once crystal blue, darkened beneath heavy clouds pregnant with impending rain. Shadows of doubt flickered within him, but he recalled the promise of the Lord. "Only you, Noah, and your family will I establish my covenant." Enveloped in that promise, he steadfastly worked, the storm clouds gathering a silent reminder of his mission. His heart ached for those outside the ark, knowing they would not heed the warning. Suddenly, a peculiar stillness fell over creation, a pause before the storm. The rains began to pour, a deluge that transformed the earth into churned chaos. Guided by faith, Noah and his family entered the ark, sealing the great door shut behind them. God's promise surrounded them, a shield amid the tempest. "Trust in me, Noah." The voice of the Lord echoed in the storm, vibrant and commanding. As the chaos unfolded outside, Noah caught fleeting glimpses of the judgment upon those who laughed at his faith. The hymns of the wind intermingled with the cries of the earth's sorrow. Together with his family, he felt the weight of uncertainty pressing in. But in the turmoil, his heart pondered what lay beyond the flood. What new life would emerge from these waters? Would he uncover the divine mysteries hidden in this harrowing journey? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. The rains continued, each drop a testament to God's decree. Noah gazed across the dark waters, flooded with uncertainty, yet tethered by faith. The journey was just beginning, and within the storm lay not only judgment, but also the promise of renewal, a chance for life to flourish anew. Would they discern the fullness of God's plan as the days unfolded? Here, amidst the tempest and the trials, the resurrection, hidden from view, awaited in holy silence. As the rain fell in torrents and the waters rose to engulf the earth, Noah and his family found themselves encased in a cocoon of divine safety, yet the weight of the situation clung to their hearts. The world beyond the ark screamed with the chaos of a creation in upheaval, but within the confines of the vessel, a sacred stillness enveloped them, a sanctuary formed by faith and obedience to God's command. Noah observed his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, as they tended to the gathered animals, their voices barely rising above the tempest. Each creature, created by God's own hand, looked to them with wide, trusting eyes, echoing the faith Noah instilled in his own family. The sounds of the storm provided a stark contrast to the rhythmic beating of their hearts, underscoring the urgency of their mission. Then in the midst of that great calamity, the Almighty spoke once more, his voice like thunder and yet gentle as the caress of a breeze. "Noah," he said, "I will establish my covenant with you. Take heart, for this flood shall end, and you will emerge as a new creation in the world I will restore." Faith surged within Noah as he listened. Yet as the days turned to weeks, with the rain falling incessantly, doubt whispered at the edges of his resolve. How long must we endure this? What will we find upon the waters receding? He turned to his wife Naamah, the steadfast presence beside him through every challenge. Will our children inherit a world of beauty or desolation? Naamah, sensing her husband's turmoil, placed a comforting hand upon his shoulder. We must hold fast to God's promises, my love. He has led us thus far. Trust that his purposes abound beyond our understanding. Together, they gathered their family, recounting the wonders of God's creation as they sought to anchor their spirits in the lore of his mighty works. They reminisced about the gardens, the creatures, and the harmony of life, unwittingly preparing their hearts for what lay ahead. With each shared story, hope ignited anew, breathing warmth into their souls amid the chill of uncertainty. The rains continued, and the water rose higher. Every day was marked by their prayers, beseeching the Lord to remember his covenant. "Show us mercy, O God," Noah implored, "that we might witness the dawn of a new day." After 40 days and 40 nights, the downpour ceased, allowing silence to blanket the world, a sacred pause in which the heavens seemed to breathe. With the storm abated, the ark began to gently bob upon the surface. Indeed, God remembered Noah, for the waters had not forgotten to recede. In this stillness, Noah felt the Holy Spirit move within him. A revelation awaited. As they looked out, the horizon began to reveal the first strands of creation brimmed with promise. Hope unfurled like a new leaf. The flood had purged the earth of its defilement, but what awaited them now? Would they be the caretakers of a renewed world, fulfilling God's commands and promises? Noah's heart raced with expectation as he remembered God's words. A new beginning dwelt just beyond the closing of this chapter. He turned to his family, his voice steady and sure. "Prepare yourselves, for soon we shall set foot upon new ground. The Lord has a purpose, greater than we can fathom." And as the waters lowered, a revelation brewed on the shores of their lives. In those moments of quiet and reflection, God's sovereign plan lay ready to unveil, an invitation to embark upon a covenant journey greater than the flood's devastation. Would they embrace the divine call to rebuild and renew all that was lost? For even now, a sign awaited them, echoing through the skies and the depths, a glorious promise of hope, to signal God's everlasting grace in the midst of the storms. And it came to pass, after many days upon the waters, that the rain clouds dispersed, and the sun shone forth, breaking the long-held gloom. The gentle caress of the breeze whispered through the ark, stirring the hearts of all who dwelt within its sacred walls. Noah, gazing through the small window of the vessel, saw the horizon beginning to emerge, a canvas painted with hues of dawn and life anew. "Look!" he called to his family, his voice filled with awe. "The waters recede, the earth is revealing itself." The hearts of Naamah and their sons leaped in unison, inspired by their father's excitement. They gathered near him, peering out to witness what God would unfold. Thus, after 40 days, the waters withdrew gradually until the ark came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. The family stood in hushed reverence, watching as the floodwaters began to ebb, revealing the once familiar terrain steeped in silence. Nature, their mother and their home, had endured desolation but was poised for a miracle. As the days passed, Noah, filled with both trepidation and faith, awaited further instruction. "What shall we do now, O Lord?" he prayed, pouring out his heart before the God who had saved them. "Your covenant looms like a dew upon the dawn. Grant us clarity." The Lord answered his prayer in the stillness of that sacred space. A dove was sent forth from the ark, a harbinger of hope, carrying with it the promise of life. Noah released the bird, and after some time it returned bearing a freshly plucked olive leaf, a symbol of the earth's healing. Noah's heart swelled with joy. "God has rejuvenated creation, restoring what was lost," he proclaimed, taking the olive branch into his hands. "This olive leaf is a sign of our covenant, heralding a world arising from the waters of judgment." Encouraged by this divine sign, Noah intently awaited the command of the Lord. Days turned into weeks as he heeded the call to wait. The weight of silence filled the ark. It was heavy, yet holy, a precursor to something miraculous. Finally God spoke again, saying, "Noah, go forth from the ark, you and your family, and all living creatures that are with you. Multiply upon the earth and fill it." With reverent fear and joy intertwined, Noah opened the door of the ark, and the first rays of sun illuminated their path. Stepping out into the world of fresh beginnings, the animals poured forth, filling the earth with the promise of rebirth. With gratitude, Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took of every clean animal and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. The fragrance of the sacrifices ascended into the heavens, and the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma. God then spoke, promising never again to curse the ground because of humankind, nor to destroy all living things as he had done. "To Noah and his sons," he declared, "I give this command: be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Every beast of the earth will fear you. I establish my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of a flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth." Thus God set a rainbow in the sky as a sign of his everlasting covenant with Noah and all living creatures. Yet as Noah gazed upon the splendor of God's promise, a stirring of expectancy welled up within him. What would this covenant of God truly entail? What future lay ahead for his descendants? Indeed, a history yet untold awaited them, unfolding before their very eyes as they stood under the divine arch of hope, a celestial reminder of God's grace. Would they walk faithfully in this new world, living out the fullness of God's purpose, and embracing the destiny woven into the fabric of promises yet to be revealed? For in every covenant, the true story of divine redemption begins its holy narrative, echoing across generations set to embark on an eternal journey. And it came to pass that after the echoes of jubilant roars and the sweet silence of a world reborn filled their hearts, Noah and his sons set their hands to the work of cultivation. The earth had been stripped bare, yet they knew the command of the Lord: multiply upon the earth and fill it. Thus they gathered their strength, planting seeds in the fertile soil, each one representing hope for the generations to come. Noah's wife, Naamah, stood beside him, her hands embracing the earth as they began to sow, her heart resonating with the joy of creation. "Oh, what wonders will spring forth from your promise, Lord!" she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with the vision of life that would flourish anew. In the days that followed, they witnessed the miracle of growth. Green shoots pierced through the soil, stretching towards the heavens. Each blade of grass, each bud filled the once despaired land with life and vibrancy. As the months elapsed, the family thrived under the Lord's favor. Noah geared himself to teach his sons the ways of the Almighty and the stories of the old world, tales of creation, of failures, and the grace that saved them. The lessons were filled with wisdom, imparting the understanding of stewardship and the fear of the Lord. But amid their rejoicing, whispers lingered in the darkest corners of their hearts. The scars of the deluge still lingered in the memories of mankind. The sinful nature was not washed away like the waters that had once engulfed the earth. In truth, the challenges ahead were veiled in uncertainty. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, the Lord spoke to Noah again. "Behold, I establish my covenant with you and your descendants after you." With these words, a weighty realization settled in Noah's spirit. God's covenant was not merely a shield against wrath, it was a girdle of purpose stretched across the tapestry of history yet to unfold. And thus God revealed his heart. As creation flourishes, son of Adam, guide the hearts of your sons to righteousness, for the inclination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Yet through you I shall demonstrate my compassion. Noah looked upon his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, gazing at them with tenderness and trepidation. The weight of our legacy is upon us. As God shines a light upon our paths, let us be vigilant in facing the desires that beckon us away from his ways. The family fortified their bond through prayer, pledging their hearts to walk in covenantal faithfulness, for therein lay the promise of a future unmarred by the judgment they had endured. Days turned into seasons, and seasons into years. Their children were born, a new generation, bright eyes filled with life, unaware of the great battles that still lay ahead, struggles unseen but felt thrumming in the fabric of the world. Yet a sacred silhouette hung over them, the covenant sign, a radiant rainbow arching across the sky, a reminder of God's faithfulness. Father, what if the hearts of those who come after us stray from the path of righteousness? Ham questioned one eve, deep uncertainty wreathing his brow. Noah held his son close, his heart swelling with grief and hope intertwined. "Fear not, my son. The Lord's hand guides, yet each must choose their way in him. His mercy can reach even the most wayward, yet his judgments shall not be forgotten by those who defy his paths." And with that, as the stars began to shimmer above in splendid vigil, Noah perceived a deeper mystery of God's plan, a foretelling whisper that echoed through the ages. The struggles of mankind shall never be absent, but with each challenge there lies a thread of grace interwoven, awaiting to be revealed in triumph. Thus, as they looked toward the vast open lands stretching before them, they could not fully grasp the breadth of what came next. The trials that lay ahead, the faith that would be tested, and the promises yet to be unveiled through generations seeking him. For a new chapter in the story of creation was just beginning, laden with both burdens and glimmers of divine promise. And it came to pass that in the years following the deluge, a time of renewal swept over the earth, yet the hearts of mankind did not remain steadfast. Despite the purity of creation emerging anew from the remnants of judgment, the shadows of sin began to loom once more. Cities began to rise, and with them came the pride of man. In his heart, Ham wrestled with fear and wonder, pondering the mystery that lingered in the recesses of his soul. One day, as the sun wove golden rays through the branches of the young trees, Ham approached Noah, his brow furrowed with concern. "Father," he said, "the world is vast, yet dangers abound as men strive for power and glory. What do we do when they abandon the path of righteousness?" Noah, with discernment sharpened through years of walking with the Lord, replied, "My son, we must remain steadfast in our teachings, for the true heart of man is as fickle as the reeds in the wind. We have been graced with the knowledge of the Almighty. It is our duty to shine as lights upon the earth." Thus Noah gathered his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, calling them to the side of the newly planted vineyard, which thrived under the sun's warm embrace. "We shall not grow weary in our labor. We must cultivate not merely the fruit of the soil, but the hearts of our children, teaching them the paths of the Lord. Seasons shifted, and as the harvests flourished, so too did the array of emotions within Noah. He witnessed the budding lives of his grandchildren, each face a reflection of divine grace, yet they bore the same seeds of temptation inherited from their forebears. Come, he beckoned them, gathering all the children to narrate the stories of old, the tales of creation, the disobedience that led to the flood, and the mercies that wrapped around them, even in judgment. With each word, the air grew thick with anticipation, as they inhaled the promise of the covenant binding them to their Creator. Yet there will come a time, he warned, his voice grave, when the hearts will seek after their own. Beware the whisper of pride that scorches the spirit. For the Lord has decreed, I will not contend with man forever, for he is flesh. As the laughter of children filled the air, so too did the sobering weight of truth. Time flowed like the rivers that fed the land, and with it an understanding took root. Shem watched his father intently, inspired yet unsettled by the challenges yet to arise. It was then that he took courage and raised a question. What shall we do if the world turns against you, Lord? Noah knelt beside him, placing a firm hand upon his shoulder. We shall remain like the trees in that very vineyard, their roots deep in faith, swaying but never breaking in the storm. We must preserve our covenant with the Almighty, and therein lies our strength. In their hearts they forged a pact of devotion, a promise to lead by example and remain anchored in God's word. Thus, while the world beyond their doorstep swirled in uncertainty and chaos, the family determined to uphold divine truths, fostering reverence and hope among the generations. But unbeknownst to them, as they thrived in their humble existence not far away, whispers of a new rebellion were brewing, preparations that would thrust their legacy into the crucible of divine testing. The spirit of defiance was rising in the hearts of men, and as the heavens shifted, a storm swept through the land not of water, but of dreams dreamed wrongly, turning men's hearts towards wickedness. For the Lord, who knows the end from the beginning, was orchestrating a divine symphony, a greater purpose hidden beneath the layers of their daily toil. Thus, amid the laughter of children and the prayers of a faithful father, a new chapter awaited to be written, a time where faith and folly would clash, revealing God's ultimate plan. The curtains of time were poised to unveil a profound mystery of divine sovereignty waiting to be embraced. And it came to pass in those days, as the descendants of Noah multiplied upon the earth, that a great tumult arose among the nations. The children of men, driven by ambition, sought to establish a name for themselves, gathered in the plain of Shinar. There they spake among themselves, saying, Come, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. But the Lord, who sits enthroned above the heavens, beheld their endeavor and was not pleased. The hearts of men had turned again to pride, seeking to elevate themselves above their Creator. The Almighty, in his wisdom, declared, Behold, the people are one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. So the Lord descended to see the city and the tower which the children of men built, and his spirit moved upon the earth, stirring the waters of righteousness. Let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Thus he scattered them abroad, from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore the name of it was called Babel, for there the Lord did confound the language of all the earth. In the midst of this upheaval, the family of Noah remained as steadfast oaks planted by the rivers of living water. The words of Noah rang clear in their minds, and in the quiet of their gatherings they prayed for the souls of men, knowing well the frailty of the heart. Ham, troubled by the chaos around them, sought wisdom once more from his father. What will come of these men that strive for power? Will the earth fall again into despair? Noah, with a deep sigh, replied, Prepared are we for trials unseen, my son. Our God is a refuge and fortress. He shall deliver us from the snares of the wicked. But we must be vigilant, for the temptations of the heart are manifold. And Japheth, filled with righteous zeal, stood forth and spoke, Let us not despair or be fearful. As our ancestors walked in faithful covenant with God, so too shall we. Perhaps this turmoil is but a call to action, a chance to proclaim his name. Emboldened by one another's faith, the family fortified their resolve. They gathered the children and began instructing them in the ways of the Lord, recounting the glories of his creation and the lessons learned from the flood. They crafted songs of praise, echoing the covenant promises that were made unto their forefathers. Meanwhile, the hearts of the nations grew colder, and the arrogance of mankind brewed a tempest that threatened the fragile peace of the earth. The weight of sin pressed upon creation as each man attempted to assert greater dominion over his brother. Thus the foundation was laid for eventual strife, where brother would rise against brother, and the whole earth would groan under the burden of its own pride. Yet in that quiet vineyard, Noah and his sons remained steadfast, their hands ploughing into the soil of faithfulness, the roots of their ancestors deep within them, urging them to remain true. With every day that dawned, their voices called unto the hearts of their kin, a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness. Little did they know, however, that the true testing of their faith was yet to come. A divine purpose, hidden yet powerful, would soon manifest through their lineage, revealing how God would craft a new beginning from the clay of human rebellion. For the Lord whispers in the silence, In the midst of chaos my plan shall stand secure. And it came to pass that as the family of Noah continued their faithful gatherings, the winds of discord swept across the face of the earth. Nations rose against nations, with hearts hardened against one another, and the pride of man swelled like a great flood, seeking to drown the humble in despair. Within this discord, the descendants of Noah held fast to the covenant they shared with the Almighty. They gathered often, seated around the fire, recounting the greatness of the Lord. Remember the flood, they spoke with fervor, how the waters lifted us, yet our faith bore us safely to the mountains. Noah observed his sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and his heart swelled with both longing and trepidation. He knew that the day would come when the Lord would require of them a demonstration of unwavering faith. It was upon such foundations that he instructed his children, saying, As the great oak stands firm against the winds, so let us stand against the trials ahead. As the days passed and shadows deepened, a voice, soft yet powerful, stirred within Noah's spirit. One night, while the stars blinked brightly in the celestial canopy, the Lord spoke unto him, saying, Noah, stand to build for me a vessel of salvation, for the hearts of man weigh heavy with iniquity. My judgment shall come upon the earth, yet through you will I establish a remnant of grace. Noah, trembling in reverence, replied, O Lord, how shall I build such a great vessel? What manner of wood shall I use? And the Lord instructed him, saying, Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. This is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. Thus Noah gathered his sons, revealing unto them the divine command, The Lord has ordained us to construct an ark of hope amidst the storms that approach. We shall usher forth a new beginning from this judgment. Will you join me? Japheth, eager and bold, replied, Aye, Father. Together shall we toil until the vessel is complete, for the Lord's will must be done. Ham, cautious yet steadfast in heart, nodded, Let our labor be a testimony of faith. We shall gather the materials, and the hand of the Lord shall guide us. And so they began their labor, gathering gopher wood from the lofty mountains, crafting each beam with reverence, praying earnestly for strength as they worked in the heat of the sun. The clangor of hammers echoed through the valleys, a sound both unsettling and prophetic to the world around them. As the structure of the ark took shape, the mocking voices of the nations arose once more. They looked upon the work that Noah and his sons engaged, scoffing at their endeavor. "What folly is this to build an ark? There is no flood to come," they jeered. But Noah, undeterred by the scorn, stood firm in faith, recalling the words of the Lord, "For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. With each timber laid, and each prayer uttered, they walked deeper into the heart of obedience, while the world spiraled into greater confusion and despair, unaware of the divine judgment looming just beyond their sight. Thus, the foundations of a new beginning were being laid, and Noah's family grew more resolute, preparing to fulfill God's sovereign plan. Yet in the stillness of the night, a whisper danced through creation, proclaiming, "A new covenant shall emerge from the remnants of judgment. For even in chaos, the seed of hope shall be planted, and through it a promise shall unfold." And it came to pass, as the days grew longer and the labor of their hands intensified, a great sense of urgency enveloped Noah and his sons. Each morning they rose with the dawn, hearts bursting with purpose, seeking to honor the command of the Lord. With all their strength they labored, their calloused hands shaping the provisions of divinely ordained safety. Yet as they toiled, the hearts of men grew colder, and the darkness of sin expanded like shadows at dusk. The mockeries grew louder, piercing their resolve like thorns amongst vines. "What are you doing, foolish Noah? Have you not heard the laughter of the sun upon the water, or the songs of the carefree wind?" they bellowed, mocking the vision that compelled him. Noah, undeterred, gathered his sons in a moment of shared strength. "Let us anchor our hearts in faith," he spoke, "for the Lord is faithful to his promises. He has promised that our obedience shall yield a remnant, a beacon of hope amidst coming despair." He spoke of the vision, the promise of rain that the Lord had revealed, and as he did, a protective fire ignited within them. Each word was a hammer striking the anvil of their hearts, shaping them for the trials ahead. The weight of the world's scorn bore heavily upon their shoulders, yet in their unity they found their strength. In the heart of this turmoil, another voice arose, a voice of reason cloaked in dread. It was the voice of Methuselah, a grandfather who had seen the time of the flood in divine visions. "My sons," he warned, "God's patience is vast, yet his judgment draws near. Prepare, for the rain will come." And so, the fear of the Lord gripped them as they returned to their work. The cries of the onlookers continued echoing through the valleys. "Such delusion! There is no flood!" Yet in secret, the faithful whispered among themselves, narrating the tales of God's greatness, lionizing the ark as a crucible of salvation. Days turned to weeks. The sides of the ark rose like a mighty fortress against the heavens, thick with pitch. The laughter of the world no longer reached them. Instead, they felt the weight of reverence as they witnessed God's handiwork unfold. Each day was a note in the symphony of obedience, resounding through the creation, harmonizing with the divine will. Then on the 7th day, as twilight approached and the sun kissed the horizon, a profound stillness fell. The sky dimmed, and an expectant hush took hold of the air. Noah, sensing the call of his Creator, gathered his family once more. "Today, the Lord's promise unfolds. Remember that we have a work to complete, and we will fulfill our calling whether we are scoffed at or revered," he declared. With a deep breath, Noah stepped forward, his countenance radiant despite the bearing of the world's mockery. "We stand upon the edge of transformation. The Lord shall fulfill his covenant." The spirit of anticipation charged the atmosphere, curling around them like tendrils of incense rising toward the heavens. And just as Noah's family grasped their tools once more, and their hearts were knit together in love, the winds shifted dramatically. A distant rumble echoed. Was it thunder, or the heavens churning in response to the faithful's obedience? "Behold," said Noah, fixing his gaze upward, "for the Lord's hand is not shortened that it can save." And in that moment, as the final seams were drawn tight, the cosmos held its breath. There loomed a promise, an intricate unfolding of divine intent that would intertwine judgment and grace beyond measure. Yet even in this moment of completed labor, the whisper returned, a solemn reminder that the world was blind to the resurrection of hope within the folds of divine mystery. For the time has come to fulfill the prophecy of old, where from the depths will rise a new creation, a vessel not only for preservation but for the nations, teaching them the unfathomable depths of my love and judgment. And it came to pass, as the stillness deepened and the air pulsed with anticipation, that Noah turned to the great ark, its beams strong and true, a testament to faith born through hardship. He placed his hand upon the wood, feeling the rough texture beneath his fingers, and with each breath he prayed, seeking wisdom from the Lord. "O Creator of heaven and earth," his voice trembled with reverence, "let our labor be blessed, and our hearts fortified for what is to come." As twilight fell upon the land, the heavens began to stir in ways unseen. A thick veil hung over the expanse, and the very breath of creation seemed to draw together, quivering in joyful expectancy. The earth itself, laden with the weight of sin, whispered of its imminent renewal, as unseen hands prepared the moment foretold. Suddenly a surge, the sound of a rushing wind, blasted through the silence, a divine trumpet resounding through the valleys. The skies darkened, swirling clouds filled with water began to gather, and from the great depths of the heavens came an echo, a voice of prophecy fulfilled. Noah looked upon his sons, a mix of fear and wonder reflected in their eyes. "Gather the beasts, the birds, and every creeping thing, for the hour of the Lord's reckoning draws near," he urged, his heart aflame with urgency. Amid the shadows cast by the clouds, the creatures began their migration towards the ark. Lions, sparrows, and all manner of creation approached in pairs, each moved by a force they could not comprehend. The cries of the faithful mingled with their hesitance, for they stood at the threshold of the divine, where judgment and mercy met in an embrace. "Look!" yelled one of Noah's sons, pointing toward the horizon. "The flood of the Lord is upon us." As the first drops fell, each drop was a harbinger, the promise of what lay ahead. Lightning flashed, illuminating the dark sky, exposing the faces of those who once mocked the righteous man. The earth shook beneath their feet, sending a tremor through the hearts of the scoffers. Yet Noah and his household were fortified, their faith an anchor in the tempest. As the waters began to rise, the ark stood firm, swallowing the ridicule, embracing the grace of God. The mocking voices drowned in the swelling tide as the ark's door sealed shut, symbolizing the divine protection offered to those within. Noah's heart pounded. He felt the weight of many souls clinging to their earthly sin as the waters edged nearer. Within the confines of the ark, the family knelt in prayer, their voices a chorus of thanksgiving and supplication. "O Lord, may we endure the trial ahead. May our obedience bear fruit for generations to come." Noah cried out in their united pleas. Thus, as the rain poured down, a torrential mercy enveloping the earth, the ark swayed, but did not falter. The stars above seemed to shiver and weep for the world outside, while within the faithful held fast to their hope. Yet even as the waters swelled, a celestial whisper came forth, a promise, a mystery that loomed greater even than the flood. "For on the other side of judgment," resounded the voice of the Almighty, There lies restoration, a new covenant, where my bow shall appear in the cloud, and I will remember my promise to mankind. In that sacred moment, Noah knew in his spirit that God's sovereign plan was unfolding, one that would echo through ages, revealing his redemptive heart, his mercy woven through the fabric of time, both now and forevermore. And thus the floodwaters ceased, a divine decree washing over the earth in a culmination of God's righteous judgment. The rain that had once poured with relentless fury now transformed into a gentle mist, ushering in the dawn of a new epoch. Noah, standing steadfast upon the threshold of the ark, felt the release of tension in his heart as he looked upon the receding waters. "Blessed be the Lord who has delivered us," he proclaimed, his voice firm yet trembling with reverence. The weight of loneliness and judgment, once heavy upon his shoulders, began to lift, as if replaced by the holy anticipation of a fresh beginning. In the awed silence, a foundational seed of hope was planted deep within Noah's spirit. His family, emerging from their sanctum, found solace amid creation gently stirring from its slumber. As the sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the remnants of a once corrupted world, a new promise flowed forth with it. "Look upon the mountains of Ararat," Noah instructed his family, his heart thrumming with renewed purpose. "The Lord has preserved us not for mere survival, but for a divine commission, to nurture and shepherd this creation, restoring all that was lost." Naamah offered her hand, steadying herself as if to balance the enormity of what lay ahead. "We will fulfill God's will, my love. With faithful hearts, we shall cultivate this earth and bear fruit for generations to come." Together, as a family bound by covenant, they knelt upon the earth now made sacred, lifting their praises to the one who had shielded them from the storm. "O mighty God, may we abide in your grace and bring glory to your name," they prayed in unison, voices lifted to the heavens that now glimmered with promise. Then God spoke, his voice reverberating in their hearts. "Noah, rise and be fruitful. You and your sons are to multiply abundantly upon the earth. Establish my covenant, for as long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease." A trembling awe seized Noah and his family, and they understood the sacred responsibility bestowed upon them. Indeed, this was a remnant woven into the fabric of the future, a future that demanded their faithfulness to the Creator. Days turned into weeks, and as they began to cultivate the land, they witnessed creation breathe anew. Green shoots emerged from the soil, glittering with dew, reflecting the promise of restoration. Laughter filled their home, an echo of joy that blended with the songs of the birds, returning to their rightful places in the skies. In the midst of these flourishing beginnings, Noah planted an altar unto the Lord. Wood taken from the very ark that had cradled their lives became the foundation of their worship. He offered clean animals and renewed their gratitude to God, the fragrance of their offerings rising like incense to the heavens. And God, beholding the altar, swore an oath that day. "I will establish my covenant with you and with all living creatures. Never again shall a flood destroy the earth. Behold, my bow in the cloud, a sign of the covenant between me and the earth." The radiant spectrum splashed joyfully across the skies, a profound symbol of the divine grace forever bestowed upon humanity. As Noah gazed upon the celestial arch, a flood of understanding washed over him. He perceived that the covenant was more than a promise. It was the blueprint of redemption threaded through time, a declaration of God's heart that had chosen mercy over judgment. Thus, he shared this with his sons, weaving tales of grace and endurance into the fabric of their legacy. "Remember, dear sons, your lives are for a higher purpose. We are but stewards of creation, entrusted to reflect the light of the Almighty to every corner of this earth. The seeds we sow today shall bear fruit for generations. Reminders of our covenant with the Lord, he counseled, strengthening their resolve against the whispers of rebellion that lingered in the shadows. Shem, reflecting the depth of his father's wisdom, proposed, "Let us map our paths according to God's guidance. We shall honor his name, uphold righteousness, and be vigilant over our hearts." Ham and Japheth nodded in unity, knowing that the legacy of their family was woven tightly with the divine narrative yet unfolding. In those moments of sacred connection, the torrents of the past washed away, Noah's family found purpose anew. They embarked upon the calling to populate the earth, fostering a lineage rooted in faith, hope, and divine truth. Through seasons of planting, harvesting, and sharing, the legacy of Noah's family grew, each child a testament to God's unwavering covenant and grace. They became a community of believers, seeking out the faces of the lost to invite them to the promise of redemption. Amidst these vibrant gatherings, Noah often felt the stirrings of God's Spirit, nudging him toward future revelation and invisible trials yet to come. He recognized that the inclination of man's heart remained a veiled struggle, whispering tantalizingly of sin. Yet he remained steadfast, knowing the Lord's providence would provide the strength they needed amid every storm. As the sun set each day, casting hues of orange and gold across the horizon, Noah raised his voice in prayer, imploring God for wisdom. O Lord, as we navigate the pathways of future generations, may our lineage remain firm in faith, forever bound to your everlasting promises. The heavens would respond with silence, yet the firmament echoed with the assurance that God's sovereign plan would not falter. And so Noah's life unfolded, a testimony, an emblem of faith amidst chaos, heralding generations that would rise to declare the glories of the Lord, ultimately embarking on a journey woven through grace. Through storms and sunshine, they embraced his covenant, turning the tides of despair into a fountain of divine hope, drawing all creation closer to their Creator. As history would unfold, the world would witness the very interplay of rebellion and redemption, a reminder that no heart is beyond the reach of God's love, and within even the fiercest storms, the bow of promise would always remain. And thus, the legacy of Noah continued rippling through time, declaring the steadfast love of God, inviting all who would listen to share in the great narrative of hope. Do not delay, dear friends, for today is your day to witness the goodness of our Lord. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next powerful biblical stories infused with God's truth. Leave a like now to help spread the word of God through the algorithm. This is the moment to help unveil his blessings. Comment with your spiritual reflections and share how this biblical story has impacted your faith. And do not wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear the truth of God's redemptive love. Together, let us foster hearts yearning for his truth, for only true believers understand the urgency of supporting biblical content to reach souls for Christ.